Thank you for joining us, Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. As a marketer and as a brand, do you exercise corporate social responsibility to where you not only support your business, but also have a cause that you support for bettering society? Does that cause hit home in an authentic way that's affected your family, your friends, or your colleagues, to where your passion for marketing is eclipsed by your purpose in life? Ann Brennan is the CEO of Ann's Social Media and Marketing, and she's a subject matter expert at Cause Marketing. And on this episode, we'll discuss how she began cause marketing campaigns that helped not only her family, but also her business as well because of her authenticity in helping other people. And we'll also discuss some of the ways to use social media and build a network to help amplify that message. So let's tune in to a social media expert with a shark with a cause on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Ann, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. If you would tell us a little bit about your background and your career thus far.
So I own a digital marketing agency. It's ASMM Digital and Social Media and Marketing. We're a small firm out of Maryland, Millersville, Maryland, but we have clients across the country. Everything from website development to social media management, review management, content writing. We do a little bit of everything. So we have a lot of fun here.
So what made you open up your own shop?
Honestly, my husband said, "Why don't you start this company?" And there was a part of me that really thought, okay, I'll start the company and then I'll get a real job. But luckily, I had been in this community for a while and people knew me really well. So I had 2 clients before I started the company and immediately got another 2 within 2 weeks of starting. And then we just built. We built very, very fast. I had to actually slow myself down. So.
Did you ever have any interest in looking at just being a solopreneur, or did you always sort of want to build out a sort of boutique agency?
No, I did. So I guess about a year and a half ago, my husband said, "So what are your goals?" And I said, "Well, if I can make this amount of money," and it was not a very big amount of money, "if I can make this amount of money, I'll be happy." And then I realized, oh my gosh, maybe 3 months later, I'm pulling my hair out and I'm like, I've got to hire. And I hired, and then that person I hired, her name's Anastasia, she said, "Okay, we need more. You cannot run this. We cannot run this all by ourselves."
Mm-hmm.
So we built very much organically. Everything we did was organic. I did not see it coming. But my husband says I don't do anything small, so that makes sense.
So you've also acted as an influencer in your life. You're obviously into fitness and jogging and things like that. Talk a little bit about your own blog and how that sort of built out your own profile.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, that goes back. So I started a blog at almost the exact same time Facebook started. And I looked at Facebook and I said, I bet you could use this thing to market. So I started that. I started Facebook, and then there was something called the Daily Mile. I think those are the 2 things that really launched my blog because I went on the Daily Mile and I would share what I wrote about running. And at the time, I was running marathons, I was running Ironman. And so it was pretty big in the fitness field, but I took it from a different angle. I talked about the mental side of running, which is a lot of what I do now. I talk
Mm-hmm.
about the mental side of business. So I'm fascinated by what makes us tick.
So at your core, you're doing social media and marketing for your company. Is more of it from a social strategy, or are you doing a lot more in the paid social space now? Or how to, those are a little bit different swim lanes, but where do you sort of see your focus being today?
I do it differently, and I'll tell you, I went to Social Media Marketing World last year, and everybody I talked to said, "Wait, how are you doing that?" I am all about the engagement. So
Mm-hmm.
we become a part of your company. We don't just post, we don't just create a strategy, we don't just do ads, and we do all of that. But we really become a part of your company. So when somebody, I think the funny one that I say a lot is I have a Mexican restaurant, and somebody will say, "Oh my God, I need a margarita," and I will say, "I know you do, girl." Right? I go back at them as excited about that margarita as they are. So we do that within our whole team. Everybody on the team becomes a part of my customers' business so that we can talk to their customers the way they would.
The topic of the day is cause marketing. Talk, if you will, a little bit about your own personal cause and what got you inspired to not only do one as a day job, but a second more as a passion, and how you got into the cause marketing world.
You said that really well, and I have to tell you, it's something I talk about, and I say this is my cheesy moment.
Hmm.
Um, I have a real passion for marketing, but my passion for marketing allows me to follow my purpose in life. My
Perfect.
purpose in life is
Exactly.
suicide prevention.
Yeah.
So I work for suicide prevention. I've done it for a long time with my son. My son struggled with suicide. It was awful, Kenneth. I cannot tell you how hard that was. Um, I thought I would die. Honestly, I thought I would die if I
Oh, I
lost
can
him, and
imagine.
so it was awful. But we started the very first time he was hospitalized. We did a walk, and it was an overnight walk. I don't know if you've seen them. They're by the American Foundation for
Hmm.
Suicide Prevention, and we did it. And the truth is, the two of us are athletes. We're
Hmm.
very, very athletic, and we felt that walk was just too easy. So the next year, we decided instead of doing that walk, we'd still raise money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, but we would walk for 24 hours. And my husband thought this was the worst idea in the entire world. Um, and it was a pretty bad idea. We walked through the woods on the Greater Allegheny Passage for 24 hours, and we did it 2 years in a row. We raised about $10,000 those first 2 years. So, but the whole time we would do that, we talked about we live in a community with a lot of suicide. We have had 20 suicides in 14 years, and those are the ones that are reported. The others, we know that they've happened, but they say that there's a different cause of death. So we know there's more than 20.
Hmm.
But while we would walk, my son and I would say, we wish we could bring this into our community. So in 2017, I was driving down the road and I passed the Severna Park Tap House, and they have this lovely outdoor area. And I said, I bet I could create a fundraiser right here in our community for suicide prevention. And I'm going to call it Burgers and Bands. And I planned it literally, I say 3 weeks. I planned it in about 10 minutes. I made all the phone calls I needed to make in 10 minutes and had the bands lined up, the place reserved, the T-shirts ready, and a sponsor to sponsor the T-shirts. And we raised $8,000 in that 10 minutes. And so it was so cool. And I thought, oh, well, maybe this isn't a one-time event. And last year, I guess not last year, this year, in May, we did our second one. And we thought let's try to double that number. We raised $45,000. So it's just been amazing. And this year, we've got the mayor of Annapolis, which is the next city over from us, asked us if we'd do another one. So we're going to do two this year. In 2019, we'll do one in May and one in October. So we're really excited.
So a few questions on that. You probably, I'm going to imagine, started getting the word out through social media channels to help build support.
Yes. Oh,
So
absolutely.
that had a couple of different impacts. One is, how did your family, how did your own son react to just giving up that privacy of getting the word out there? Because there is no shame, as you and I agree, there's no shame with anybody that goes through that. I've been affected by that with people in my own life as well, and
Right.
seen people that I've lost. So there is absolutely zero shame in it. But obviously there is also that's a transparency and an amount of privacy that can be difficult for a lot of people to overcome. And social media is not always the nicest place in the world, as you know. And so putting the word out there can explode like wildfire on social media, but you also give up some control of the narrative, if you will, to some degree with how the some people react. But how did
Right.
just going through that from a personal level affect you and your family and your son especially?
Well, yeah. So let me go back. When right before Ethan got sick, right before we really found out how bad it was for him, I had run Ironman.
Hmm.
And I don't know, do you know about Ironman?
Oh,
Do
I
you know
do.
what that is? Okay, so it's not an easy race. And I had done I had a coach who trained me like I was a professional. So I thought I would take 15 and a half hours to finish it, and it took me 13 and a half hours to finish it. And so I had written about that the whole time, and people were calling me Iron Ann, and they were so impressed with what I'd done. And so if you fast forward, that was October. You fast forward to March, that was Ethan's first hospitalization. Go a little bit further than that, go into July, and everybody was saying, "Hey, Ann, how's Ethan? How's Ethan? How's Ethan?" And nobody was noticing that I wasn't doing well, because the truth is I'd lost all hope. I thought Ethan would die. I didn't think Ethan would die. I knew Ethan would die. I knew it in my heart, and so I wanted to die. So one day I went for a run, couldn't stop crying, literally couldn't stop. And I turned back around and got in my car and headed towards the Bay Bridge. And when I did, I had a moment of clarity, and I called it's called Oasis Crisis Center, and I called, and I'm either going to jump off the bridge or I need help. So I was hospitalized for 3 days. And when I got out, the first thing I did was I wrote a piece called Psych Ward Annie. And my husband was furious. I put it up, and he saw it, and he was so mad. And he said, "I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you're putting this out there. Nobody needs to know this." And he was so upset. And I swear it happened this way. It seems like something from a movie. But as we're arguing over this, I get a text on my phone, a message on my phone from a young kid who said, he's 15 years old, and he said, "I was going to kill myself tonight,
Wow.
but instead I told my mom." And my husband said, "Okay, what do we need to do to get the message out?" So
no kidding. The power of blogging, right there. There's your commercial.
There you go. There you go. So it's not an easy thing to talk about. We talk about it a lot. I think the hardest thing, though, and I will be really honest here, the hardest thing with this cause in particular is the number of phone calls I get, and I get them from across the country because I have a wide reach with my audience. I get them from across the country, people calling to say, "Hey, my child is suicidal. What do I do?" And the only thing I can do, what I do, is I direct them to other people. I don't hold on to it. I don't call back and check on them. I don't make it something that is personal, because I know it could be devastating to get into a place where I'm not a professional. And
Right.
so if they were to lose their child, I think it would kill me. We've been very lucky in that we've had parents who call early, and they've all survived.
Yeah.
So we're very, very lucky in that, because we know that's not always the case.
Well, once you realize the level of influence you have, is better to be a connector and being smart to connect to a professional as opposed to being somebody who can actually give them advice, that might jeopardize in fact their lives. And that's a good moment of clarity to have, and you did the right thing. So let's get back then back to the social aspect about it. When you think of how you've helped grow this cause, what are the sort of the marketing tactics, if you will, that you've used to really help blow this out? Is it social? Is it a website? Is it podcasts? Is it blogging? Obviously you talked about, but what are all the aspects you took to take a cause that you believed in and to really add the flair of getting the word out?
So we did create a Facebook page. We created a website. I think we do a lot of things. One thing I've done, though, is I've really created a network of people who care about the cause, right?
Great.
On social media. And so we all work on the same cause. And if I post something, it's going to be shared and shared and shared again, because everybody really cares about this. One way to say this is that we've put it out there, and we said we wanted sponsors. We put it on Facebook. We had 50 sponsors last year, and we're not in a big town. We had 50 sponsors, and they were great sponsors, big, decent-sized sponsors for a local town. And I think that says a lot about picking a cause you really care about. If I'd picked and I'd said, I don't want to pick on one cause or the other, but if I'd said, "Oh, let's talk about the environment," well, everybody cares about the environment. But that isn't something that I care about to a degree that I'm this passionate about it, right? It's in finding a cause, I think, before anything else. It's in finding a cause you truly care about. If you say, "Oh, I just want to look good to other people, and so I'm going to pick a cause that I think is popular," I don't think it's not going to work as well for you, because what you put on social media isn't going to be as authentic. It's not going to be as personal. It's not going to come across as passionate. So I think that's probably the first and most important key, is to find a cause you really care about.
So one of the things that I shared with you even through our social network was the song by Logic, 1-800-273-8255, which is the song by Logic that was recorded with Alessia Cara. That's about suicide prevention and what one person struggles who you can watch the video and understand everybody's got a different story and what they would go through when they consider suicide or getting help. But it gives one perspective that's just brilliant. Getting the word out socially through social channels, being able to share videos. Logic has had a tremendous effect with the amount of shares to be able to get the word out there. And it's one of the reasons I
Right.
wanted to obviously talk to you about on this podcast and do it. But if I'm setting up a campaign today for a cause, whether it's suicide prevention or any other, what are some of the ways that you see people really taking advantage of doing this? And I mean not from taking advantage of leveraging a good cause just to make your brand look better. Talk about some of the ways, the best practices you've seen in helping leverage, if you will, a cause marketing for a brand.
So I think you do exactly, what we were just saying. You're going to put it, you're going to make sure you have your Facebook page, and if it's an event, you have that, and that you have your social media set up. But you can't do it, especially. I think you have to have a network. You have to create a network, and a good example of how you can do that is something that we've done, which has been fun, and it's just been interesting to watch it happen. We send out these cards. We literally, I say on Twitter, "Do you want one of these cards?" And it says, "You are not alone." And people all over the world, and I mean Israel and Australia and Belgium and Greece, uh, Canada, United States, all over the United States, they've all called and said, "Hey, we want one. Give me this card. We'll take a picture with it."
Mm-hmm.
And we've sent them, and they have then tagged us. So creating a hashtag that's really behind that cause. So for us, it's Burgers and Bands with so two hashtags that we're using: Burgers and Bands and You Are Not Alone. And doing those together is getting us a little more notice nationally, because we want to take this cause nationally. We're not just here in this area. We want to move and do it. If you if you know somebody who's got in a town that's struggling with a suicide cluster, which is what we had, we want you to call us and say, "Hey, how do we do this?" And we have the handbook. We say, "This is how you set it up. This is the support we can give you, and you can start it." So think big and think, how can I take this cause and make people start talking about it? It's great to be on social media. You have to be there, but people aren't just going to pick up your calls for just no reason. You've got to give them something to talk about. For us, it was that card. For us,
Mm-hmm.
it's getting that message across. And if you'll look at I think it's on our I know it's on our Facebook page. It's probably also on our website, burgersandbands.org. There's a gallery, and we have this, for lack of a better term, it's a cutout, and it's the hashtag You Are Not Alone. And the number of people who want to hold that when we go places, it's that connection to people that we're making. So you've got to, I think, make it personal. You've got to make it personal so that somebody really cares enough to then share it, right? So again, we're using everything that we can. We're using Instagram. We're using Facebook. But we're also looking for opportunities to talk in front of people. And I think, let's go away from Burgers and Bands for a minute. If you look at 1710 Percussion, it's a percussion company. They build drum sets. It's pretty amazing. But he has a charity that's called Warrior Music Foundation, and what they do is they give free music lessons and free music therapy to veterans and their families. And I always add that "and," because we kind of leave the families out of it for veterans so often. So he does that, and he definitely uses his company to also publish this. So he's got a lot of followers at 1710. So he shares with his company page, right? We share Burgers and Bands with ASMM Digital, with our customer page, and I share it with Ann's Running Commentary as well. But so that's one way he does it. But they just had the Facebook Community Boost. So he was at the Facebook Community Boost, and he said, "I'd like to speak at this event." So they had him speak at that event. And getting in front of all those people and saying, "Hey, here's my hashtag, here's my tag, this is how you find me." the number of people who got behind him just that day amplified his message so much. So it's got to be a twofold message. It's got to be social media, and it's got to be something where you're having people amplify the social media message.
And to an earlier point, I think one of the most important things, and I think it's obvious with you, for any brand who's looking at this, they have to be authentic. I mean, it's 101 with anybody looking at brands today, but I mean, this message is obviously something that resonates with you. It's at your heart and at your core. You can't get into cause marketing to just have a softer side of Sears. It's got to be something that your people believe in, because otherwise people will see through it, and they see
Right.
through so much of brands today. It's got to be something that your leadership's got to get behind, and whatever that cause is, doesn't have to be any one or the other. It just has to be something that you, I think, firmly believe in to succeed and really benefit not only the people you're supporting, but the people you work with, to get behind it and to believe more in your brand.
Right. Right.
So then, we've talked about how you need to be sincere and authentic with it, but how does that change help a brand? How does embracing a cause help a brand? I mean, so many people consider companies today because of the causes they're behind, especially the millennial generation who looks at that as a really important piece. But how do you see that impacting a brand?
So I can say personally, I think people look at me differently in our community, but not even just our community. People across the country have contacted me about this, and they look at me personally differently because they know I care so much. Period. It's not. It's not even that I care so much about the burgers and bans or the suicide prevention. They get that, but I think they see in a company that can care about something like that there's more. There's a passion within me that people want to tap into. So one of the things that we find is people call and say, "Hey, can you do that for me?" And I say, "I can definitely help you, but you've got to be passionate about it. I can help you market it. I can put it out there, but you've got to find within your company what it is." And that may mean calling your team together and saying, "Hey, let's talk about it. What do we want to help? What are we passionate about?" And that could be, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people, there are companies that have lost people to suicide. I just talked to an agency. I shouldn't say this. I won't say who it was. I just talked to an agency a few weeks ago, and it was a very big agency, and they've had 3 suicides within their agency this year,
Wow.
and so they're getting behind burgers and bans. But what if you've lost somebody? There's somebody there who has lost somebody to cancer, and that's a cause you want to care about.
Exactly.
Or so there's a company on the eastern shore of Maryland. It's an international company. It's a technological company, but it's an environmentally friendly company. In that what they make is something that helps the environment while it's helping big companies produce the things they need to produce. Um, and choose they could choose the environment as their cause, but they their factory is in a small town in Maryland, and what they've chosen instead is the local ministry that's called Haven Ministries, that helps with homelessness, it helps with drug addiction, it helps feed people who have lost their jobs. It does a lot for the community itself, and that is so much more authentic than them picking the environment, which is the thing that it seems like would be, oh, well, that's a no-brainer, right? They picked the environment, and then that's great. But no, their whole team's behind us. I just saw on their post yesterday, they just posted something that said, "We are so proud of the number of people in our office who bought turkeys for Thanksgiving for the Haven Ministry." Their whole team did it.
Hmm.
Everybody on their team, each individually bought a turkey. I think that's amazing. And it shows that that company isn't just about getting their name out there. They're really passionate about what they do, and their team is behind them. So I think that's such a part of it. If you can truly show that you authentically care, people will get behind you, and not because of what you care about, but because you care. I think caring says so much more about who you are, because if you can care about this cause, then you can care about so much more, right?
Agreed. And I think it goes not just to whether or not a consumer considers a brand. It's important for schools that are trying to enroll students, and they want to, students want to get involved, especially with causes, especially young people. You look at employee retention. I mean, there are a lot of people who love to work, that I know, that love to work with companies who love to work with St. Jude, for example, another, brilliant cause, where there are tons of companies that support kids that are fighting cancer, to your point. So there's so many things
Right.
that it can help, that just sort of humanizes the part of marketing that often gets lost. And we get so lost in some of the mechanics and how many likes or shares a social post get. But, I think if anything, when you're just associated with helping other people, it's just, it can be worth so much more than just simply trying to tell somebody to go buy your product. So,
Exactly. It's so. Kenneth, this is a funny aside from this. I said to my husband, people hug me all the time. Like in business, I do business meetings with them, and they don't shake my hand; they hug me. And I said, I don't understand why they do that. And he says, Ann, it's because you care so much, and they feel that in everything you do.
mhm.
And he says it's and I think it started with that they saw how much I care about suicide prevention. They saw how much I care about mental health, and so they do. It's really it's endearing to me to have people want to hug me because they think of me as that kind of person who cares enough,
Mhm.
right? So I think it goes a long way. It goes a long, and it does help my business. It is not. It was not at all what I expected. I did not expect to get any business out of it. Didn't even think about it. It wasn't something I considered. It was just I have a digital marketing agency. I bet I could use that to make this event big,
Great.
and that's what I did.
So, Ann, I've got a larger cause that's a lot sillier than most of what we've been talking about. But are you ready for the 5 most interesting questions that you're going to be asked today?
Yes,
All right. So, I'm asking someone in Maryland: crab cakes or crab legs?
crab cakes.
Baltimore Ravens or Washington Redskins? Asking since you're in
Oh,
between the two.
Redskins.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Redskins. No doubt.
Blogging or jogging? And blogging about jogging is not acceptable.
Oh, well, jogging would have to win, but we call it running, just so you know.
True. Burgers or bands?
Oh, bands every day of the week.
And the most important question you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Oh, now you can't choose between those two.
It,
I am a Southern girl. I can't. So it depends on what I'm eating, but I can't choose between those two. I have to say both.
you have to pick one. This is something that's going to come down. Companies are going to be
Oh,
considering your company to do their social media and marketing. They're going to make a
all right.
choice based off of biscuits or cornbread.
All right. I'm going to say cornbread then.
Okay. So, and where do people find out more about you, connect with you, find your company online?
It's asmmdigital.com. Or if you want to find Burgers and Bands, it's burgersandbands.org.
Great.
And I am, just so you guys know, it's easy to find me if you can't find the company for some reason and you just want to find me. I am Brennan Annie everywhere.
Awesome. Ann, thank you so much for being on A Shark Perspective today and helping share the story.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, for letting me be. This is great.
So there was my conversation with Ann Brennan, the CEO of Ann Social Media and Marketing and a subject matter expert at Cause Marketing. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from our conversation with her. First, I like when she said, I have a real passion for marketing, but my passion for marketing allows me to follow my purpose in life. My purpose in life is suicide prevention. What a great perspective on looking at what's really important in life. For brands of any size, though, my advice is always keep in mind that there should be more behind the logo. Find out what you care about and ask your own team what they care about, and have a cause and a passion outside of work. Maybe it's suicide prevention or fighting cancer or some local charity that helps the community. Be authentic in that passion and never abuse it or use it as a cause to only make your brand look better. Truly show what you care about and people will get behind you. For a large amount of people who consider brands, another one of the reasons they consider yours is often what's a cause or causes behind the logo and not just the product or service that they sell. Second, social media gives marketers a tremendous array of channels in order to get the word out about causes. When building momentum, it's important to create a network of people on social who care about the same cause. Think big and think about how you can take a cause and make people start talking about it. You've got to give people something to talk about. Leverage social to make those connections, to really connect with people who will share that cause, that hashtag, if you will. And as she said, it's got to be social media, and it's got to be something where people are amplifying the social media message. Third, a simple reminder, we as marketers know how to create the reach and awareness and the channels for people to reach out to you, but always connect the people who need help with the professionals, whether it's counselors, doctors, caregivers, etc., who are professionally trained to help the people we're reaching. Most importantly, you know someone out there who suffers from depression, someone who unfortunately is contemplating suicide today. It may be a relative, it may be a friend, it may be a colleague sitting near you. I ask that you remember this number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, because maybe it will help them or maybe it will help you. It's 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. It's been my privilege to share this cause with you in order to discuss another one of the many components that makes up marketing today. Remember, we can all help prevent suicide. Join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.